Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Sunday. Happy Sunday fun day. As always, we're out here working, and I just tossed this bag over this. I brought home all my die grinders. I brought the intake home. I could do this at work, and we have an unlimited supply of air. But you know what? I like being home. If I gotta pee, I go in the house, see my wife, my dogs are here. There's something about working at home that I just like doing. If I'm working on the old cars, yes, I do have the ability to take anything I want home, and from time to time we've worked there and I've done videos, but I just like being home. I spend all week there, and even though my air compressor barely keeps up, I should be fine. I do got to check the oil level on it because that thing will be running a lot today. I got to bring out the heater because even though it's manageable in here with a hoodie, I do have to go ahead and throw my work boots on because my cement floor is cold, and I am wearing regular skate shoes, which tend to get fairly cold fairly fast. I'm going to organize my mess up there, organize my mess on the bench. I pulled out this rust encapsulator with my... I took this out for a reason. A friend of mine needs it, and I don't know if he's going to stop by later or not, but I raced with him all summer long, and he wanted to recoat his hitch or something on his trailer, and I told him he can come grab that. That's really good stuff, by the way. If you guys, this is better than regular POR 15. Really good stuff. I think I mentioned it when I did videos. If you guys go back to 2 years ago when we were doing work on the Pontiac and we had this thing all off the frame, I use that rust encapsulator stuff for all of the inside coatings of the frame. I really like using stuff like that on the inside of the frame, and on the outside, I just spray bomb it because I can touch it up with a spray can later down the road. And really, this car is proof you don't have to go nuts. I literally have undercoating over bare metal on this frame, on the floor, and on the frame. Still hasn't rusted. I mean, they get a little surface, but we touch it up with a can, done. And it actually looks good. I got the good undercoating where it actually looks like a nice satiny finish, not like shit. So either way, we won't talk about that. Now, I did have one port, and if you guys follow along and you watch on the community feature here, I made a post about I already did one port, and I'll go into detail once I'm all cleaned up right before I start working. So I'm going to shut the fuck up, and then I'm going to go ahead and clean up my mess, get everything organized, because we've been putting stuff together, and my bench's got stuff on it, and I clean up every time before I start working anyway. And then we'll dive into stuff here in a little bit. I'll talk to you guys in a goddamn minute. How's that sound? Bye. All right, so I'm ready to work. I organized my shit. Tools are put away. I'm going to be working on this bench because I have more room. Engine's over there, covered up. This engine's away, covered up. Big reason for that is any shrapnel that fries in the air. Also, I'm going to be using compressed air, so use gloves. Cold air on your hands is not good. I've been doing collision repair for 15 years, and in the last year or two, I felt, the arthritis starting to kind of set in. Anybody who works on cars and you're, holding air tools and stuff, you should take care of yourself. Kind of kicked myself in the ass for that over the years because I've done good on taking care of my feet and my knees, but hands are something that I never really thought about. But I use welding gloves because they're thicker, they're insulated. I have 2 pairs here. That's actually fairly new, Harbor Freight ones. They're really nice for fucking $15. Shit, dude. I also got some rolling cartridges, 80 and 100. You want to finish in 80, so we're going to be using the 80 grit ones just for finish. These are the proper bits you want for aluminum. As stated here, plastic, copper, aluminum. Why? Well, because the aluminum will chunk up and clog your typical carbides, or the smaller, finer ones, I guess you should say. I think I might have mentioned it in another video, but these were $60. Probably the same crap you can get on Amazon. It's not bad. So you can see here, I already did one port. I did this at work, and it's pretty good. I have to find the right gasket because, like an idiot, I didn't plan this very well. So I got my gaskets here, and let me see. What's this one say? In towards intake, driver's side. So driver's side of the intake will be that side. I need the passenger side of the intake. This would be it. And since we marked it on that side, this is exactly how this goes. And we have to line it up on our marks. And as you can see, our bolt holes do not line up. We have to open up the aluminum, and I have to mark it, So we have to oblong the holes again. This is not uncommon. I talked to a few friends of mine who have done this last minute on the dyno for back-to-back testing, stuff like that. And when I start porting, I guess, so I'll talk about it more, but I figure I'd show you guys what I got. I got my 2 die grinders. This is fairly new. I got this one 2 years ago. This is actually what I use at work for my strip wheel. There's usually like a plastic type wheel here that I use to strip the metal off of paint so I can do any paint or dent pulling or anything like that. This has always been a die grinder with a carbide, and this is exactly what I'm talking about when you use it on aluminum. Look at all that shit. It's just buried in there. This is almost like 18 years old. I actually got this back in high school, and I use this to persuade things here and there when we have like an aftermarket part that's a little off. You got to hit the edge of something. This is what I use for. Actually, I use it a lot on plastic. I don't really file off metal. If you have to oblong a bolt hole to get a fender to fit, something's off. Go back to the drawing board. So I mainly use that for like plastic parts actually quite a bit at work, and it's probably lasted me as long as it has because I barely use it. But believe it or not, actually, where's my Craftsman one? I have another one here actually, talking to you guys about it. This old Craftsman is ancient. Apparently not here either. I don't know where the hell it's at, but I had a Craftsman one somewhere around here. That's ancient. That's actually what I used to use in place of this one. But either way, neither here nor there. But we're going to go ahead and start opening it up. As you can see, we flattened out the roof and eliminated this slope. So it's a straighter shot. And I'll talk about a little bit about port theory a little later. I'll draw it up and I'll explain to you guys what I've learned. I worked one-on-one, hand-in-hand, pretty much with my good friend who also was our officiant for my wife and I's wedding, my buddy Dave. He did all the porting on the cylinder heads on here and the intake, and he showed me everything he was doing and why. So at least I can explain it the best of my ability from one of the best guys that I could have learned from. He's very particular, very meticulous, and he taught me a lot, and he explained to me why you want to do certain things. And for me, it's hard to sometimes grasp literature. I need something to actually visually see what's going on. That helps me a lot too. So we'll let you guys go. I'm going to go ahead and grind away. It's going to be a while. And we'll show you the finished product. And maybe I'll do a little bit of work in between and show you guys stuff as I go. Yeah, so we're ready to go. All right, I had to pause CCR for this, so I hope you guys appreciate it. I ran in the house, grabbed myself a cold piece of pizza from last night's dinner, and a beer. That sounds horrible on paper, I guess. But either way, I have one side of the intake done. And as you can see, we've significantly opened this up. I'm going to turn this over. Look at that. We removed a bunch of material from the roof and the floor. And the floor is quite possibly the least important part, and I'm going to explain to you guys why. But we still have to open up the floor because there's going to be a step into the port, and that is equally as bad. And especially on this intake, it's got a curve. I don't know how well it's going to show up, but it's got a curve coming out of the port. They designed this intake to work with the big block heads. So there's enough material there, which is why we're able to open this up to work with the big block heads. And then it's got like this weird like turn in here, which we almost flattened out. On all of these on the floor, we flattened them almost out. Because just in the design, you're trying to straighten out the airflow. And I guess it's kind of hard to picture it when it's upside down, but you know, look at it like this, right? So you could see daylight through the port. That's pretty damn good. You know, keep in mind that we took out quite a bit of material. Now, obviously, this runner has turns and stuff, so you're not going to be able to see daylight at all of these. But like this one, you can see daylight through it. And if you carved out material on the inside, you would create less restriction. And then, you know, we significantly opened this up. So actually, looking at the camera now, you're probably going to be able to see what I'm talking about on the other side. So let me turn it around, hold it at approximately the same angle, and hopefully I can recreate that shot live. So here you go. You see that step right there? You guys can see how it comes up. and out of the port. We got rid of all that. And again, these are designed to be run with big block heads, the aluminum RPM heads, hence the RPM intake, for small block at least. So these are done, nice. I left them rough because you don't want super smooth ports. I did hit them a little bit with 80 grit just to take off some of the bumps, but I left a rough surface on there because that's good to keep the fuel in suspense, or so I've been told. So again, I'm going based off of everything I've learned and applying it. And we didn't have to open up much on the insides and outsides. So let me explain something to you guys. Say this is roughly the angle of our Oldsmobile head. This is the stock side. This is when you're talking about an Oldsmobile on the intake side, how they have a dog leg. So on the exhaust comes out through here. You're obviously going to have two valves. But let's say this is the intake going into the engine, right? So you have this, it goes down and then it turns. It kind of looks like a dog leg. So on an Oldsmobile head, if you're looking at the port, the best way to create better airflow, and this is why, like, if you guys read, let me grab my marker so I can better explain this. So from everything I've learned, on an Oldsmobile head, you want to raise the roof, right? So I think on big block heads, you can go just under, let's call it 3/8 of an inch, right? So if you raise the roof and open up all this dead area in the casting, guess what? Look at how much less of a turn the airflow has to go. And obviously this is my air coming out. And the exhaust here is just to illustrate what side of the cylinder head we're looking at. We're not looking at any specific port. Right now it's just the intake. So, and then if you were to raise the floor up, guess what? You now have a direct shot into the valve. It still might have a little turn, but the less the air has to turn, the more velocity it's going to carry. It's like it's like driving a car. You can't go all out into the turn. You're going to have to slow down. You want the airflow to go straight in. And so I kind of drew it up here how it would look like if you were to open it up. Now, clearly, you're not going to be able to, add a lot of material on a stock casting, and you can only go up so much. So when people say raising the roof and welding up the floor and filling it, this is what they're talking about. You're talking about creating a straight shot into the runner. And this is why guys will run, big single plane intakes that are tall. The taller the intake, the straighter the shot will be into the cylinder head. So this is why in the Oldsmobile world you hear about these couple of things. And if you do like just a port match like we did on the cylinder head, you're not helping anything out. The most important part is going to be down in the valve, so before the turn into the bowl. So now we got to make sure there's no shrapnel in here. Good. All right. So you could see, let me see if I can turn on my light for you guys. There we go. So you can see in the valve, right? This has been ported a decent amount. So you can really see it here. It still has a turn down, but it's been smoothed out to the point airflow still has a pretty good shot in there. Now we still haven't completely eliminated that dogleg area because it still has to make a sharp turn into the valve. So this is why they say a lot of your best modifications you're going to be able to do to an Oldsmobile cylinder head without going completely crazy is teardropping the guide, opening up the bowl underneath the valve, and the short turn radius, which is the area right before it drops into the valve, removing material there. If you start at the beginning of the port or going into the port, if you start here, you're starting in the wrong area. You need to start at the bottom and work your way out. So if you're building like a street strip engine, you're going to find your biggest benefit is going to be underneath the valve, teardropping the guide, removing some of the material from the short turn radius, and that's going to be a lot. I wouldn't touch the outer portion of the port near the manifold for like a mildly, I guess, street strip engine. The biggest benefits to porting on a street strip engine with an SBO on an SBO head, even with a big block, is directly under the valve. If you're going to go all out, you need to consider your porting to be kind of mapped out like this as much as you can. Obviously, underneath the short turn radius, which would be this area here, there's water, and you can only go up so much here. And you can only go up so much on the roof as well. So you have to grind as much as you can to kind of create this effect in the cylinder head. And now we're port matching because obviously we run big block heads, but even with, I guess this is kind of like what you would call port matching, but we really did open it up quite a bit. And actually with the camera, you could see a lot better what we did. And I think for the most part, I think this engine's going to breathe pretty well. I know it's a dual plane intake. A lot of people have said that it cuts out about 65, but I have people who have ran this intake who disagree with that. So we're going to see. This might run better than the current engine. It might run just as good. It might run slower. I don't have the highest of expectations because this is ultimately going to be a workhorse. I plan on running a 2-barrel on it. We're going to be short shifting it. The idea is just to keep the car at 1250s and then to prove that it's fast. We will eventually run it all out like we would on any other given day. So let me go over here and see what I can see. So you guys can see now what I'm talking about, how there's like this really sharp turn in here and how it really tapers up here, and we raised the roof here and we had to drop the floor because obviously our ports are much bigger, but it adds more volume. So in this situation, it's not bad, and it's needed. But again, these runners aren't exactly tiny. This is pretty good compared to like a Performer. And I think that in the casting, they tighten them up towards the port just so it can be used on a small block Olds. Again, guys, I hope that information helps you. We got one side done. We wallered out our bolt holes. I laid the gaskets in place and put it in, and we're going to be able to put our bolts in. I did have a couple of boo-boos here and here and here, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. The gasket will take care of that. I am cruising through these, which is probably why I had a couple of boo-boos there, but, you know, whatever. So that's pretty much it. I hope you guys have enjoyed the engine build so far. I need your input. If you guys really want a spec sheet, I will gather everything together. I haven't heard anything. I know if you guys are watching out there, or if you fucking watch even to the point, but either way, this video is getting long. I don't want it to get too long because this is kind of, there's a lot on the subject here, and there's a lot better people out there that can explain, but I'm explaining what I know the best of my abilities, and hopefully that drawing helped you guys out. So we'll let you guys go. Share, like, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram as Copper Cutlass if you guys want. For now, I'm going to flip this over, get it done, and then hopefully during the week we can button this all up, do a couple of last minute things, and get our engine run stand ready to get this engine fired up, and hopefully make it happen at some point before the spring, I guess. At this point, there's no real major iron in the fire, and I'm not going to rush myself to get it, because rushing yourself is bad, all right? So, you know, rushing is bad. Not Russians. You can say whatever you want about Russians, but I'm talking about rushing. So, we'll let you guys go.